Here are the 8 reasons why I think you should consider buying or selling your house in the winter. Living in Canada during the winter is no easy task. The weather is frigid, we have to start our cars 10 minutes before we want to go anywhere, and the amount of vitamin D we get is actually criminal. We also see changes in the housing market in Winnipeg during winter. Typically, the amount of sales or transactions that occurs during the winter goes down a lot in the months of December, January, and February. And this is because nobody wants to move out of their house or into a new one when it's cold outside. And while this may make sense because you don't want to move boxes or renting a U-Haul while it's freezing outside, this has led to a belief that you need to wait until spring to buy or sell your house. However, I believe there are benefits for both buyers and sellers who are looking to make a move in the winter market. So, benefits for potential buyers. Number 1 is there's less competition. Because most people don't want to move in winter, they will actually stop their house search once it gets to the later part of the year where the temperatures start to cool down, and then they'll pick it back up in spring. So this means if you're looking for a house during those months when there's less buyers, you can avoid bidding wars. Bidding wars tends to be one of the more stressful events as a buyer, especially if you're a first-time buyer. And so if you can avoid those situations by shopping a little earlier than somebody else does, you can avoid a lot of headaches in the real estate buying process. This also means that it's easier to get into a property to see it, and it can more align with your schedule because there's less people going to view the property. And this leads to my next point, which is that you have more free time in the winter. In the summer and in the spring, you get busy with kids' school programming, end of year activities for school age kids. You start prepare for summer vacations. Unless you're a hockey parent, of course, you probably aren't doing too many activities. You might go out once in a while, but you're probably staying at home becoming the couch potato that we all love to be during the winter. In January and February, it's after the holiday season and people start to slow down their schedules a lot, trying to get back on track with their routine. And because of this, people generally have more available time. And when you have more available time, you can see more properties that align with your own schedule. It's a lot easier to book multiple showings back to back. You don't have to run around or see them Saturday morning before you drive out to the lake or before you're going camping with friends. And if you have more time, why not buy a new house? Because if you're buying a new house, chances are you're gonna have to do a little bit of fixes or cosmetic work once you purchase it anyways. So you might as well do a little project while you wait around until the spring or summer comes, and then you can reap the benefits of buying a new place in the winter. Okay, the third reason is that in the winter, the sellers are more serious. And this is typically because there's less inventory, but also because of what I said earlier, is that not a lot of people want to move. And so if they're listing their property during the winter, this is because they need to move or they're motivated to move. So this will allow for a more honest approach in negotiation because it's not people sort of just testing the market to see what they can get for their house, or if people are interested, the people that want to list their house in case they get a good offer and then they'll think about moving somewhere else. You can avoid all that because the people moving in winter, they need to move and they're highly motivated. The last reason as a buyer is that in winter time, there's a lot of maintenance issues that come up. If you've owned a house before, you know that winter is typically when your furnace will go out. Other problems can occur too, like your hot water tank busting and then you need to take cold showers for a week, or your baseboard heater stop working. There's lots of different maintenance issues that come up during the winter that could be easily identified in the home buying process when you're shopping during winter. One of the things I like to look for in Winnipeg is that you can easily identify cold spots where there's lack of insulation, maybe in a basement or a wall, or you can identify windows that have air leakage. And so this is helpful because those two issues are a lot harder to identify when it's in the summer or when it's comfortable temperatures outside. But when it's very cold, it's very easy to tell where there might be a lack of proper construction of the house or a need for some obvious upgrades. Okay, so we talked about the benefits of the buyers, and let's get into the benefits of selling. And I will be honest that a lot of these are kind of just the opposite of what the buyers benefit get, but it depends on how you sort of play your cards. And so for sellers, there is less inventory. Now, less inventory means that your house is more desirable. This is just a basic fundamental economic principle of supply and demand. As the supply goes down, the demand goes up. Now, I know that you're thinking this probably contradicts my first point for the buyers, talking about how there's less buyers in the market, and so you are a more attractive buyer. But this leads to my next point, which is that there is more serious buyers. And so similar to the reason why the sellers are more serious during the winter, the buyers that are shopping during the winter, they want to move. They want to move before spring or summer. This means that the chances of a qualified buyer putting an offer on your property is much higher. This also means you're probably going to have less showings, but potentially more offers. Typically, when there's a lot of showings, it usually means a lot of offers, but in the summertime, it might take 10, 15, sometimes 20 showings to get one offer. In the winter, it might only take 5. And the chances of financing failing or an inspection failing and the buyers pulling out, or the buyers pulling out because they find something else that they're interested in, that goes down significantly when they're shopping in winter because, like I said, your house is in higher demand because there's not as much supply. And this is something that I think a lot of people don't realize when they're selling their house, is that when a property falls through an offer and goes back into the market, its days on market continues from when they originally listed it. And so because of this, your house is actually a little bit less attractive because it's been on the market a little bit longer, and you lose all of your market momentum through all of the agent's marketing efforts and original showings you had. They might be interested in different properties now. And so you actually lose a lot of leverage as the seller because your property's been sitting for a little bit longer. Okay, my third point is that as a seller, you have flexibility and time to prepare your house. So if you're planning on selling in the winter, similar to how you had more time as a buyer, you probably also have more time as a seller. And so you can do those little fixes that make your house a little more attractable. Those problems that have issued that you've kind of put to the side, like the squeaky cabinet hinge or other small things like that, you can fix that and then actually remove any obstacles that a buyer might face when they come into your property. You couple this with having better home staging, and your property can actually seem pretty attractive. And you can keep your place cleaner compared to in the spring season when you're busy constantly going out, not having enough time to clean. Because you're at home, you can control your environment better for longer periods of time and allow your house to actually have more showings that have qualified, attractive buyers. Because the last thing we want is potential buyers to see a pile of dirty laundry, right? And then the fourth and last point for sellers is that if you are selling and buying back into the market, you get all of the benefits that I just outlined for being a buyer, but you have the recency bias of understanding what you just fixed and the problems that just occurred in your own house. And so you can look for those in the house that you're going to be buying next. And so if you know, okay, that corner of the house didn't have great insulation, it was cold there, you can go check that out and you can know, hey, this house has a similar issue. If your door shifted, because that happens here in Winnipeg when it gets so cold, you can know, hey, this door doesn't close very well. It probably needs a bit more of reinforcements. And that's something you can easily identify if you've already gone through issues like that. And you will know how to fix them too, making you potentially even a better buyer because you can negotiate that very slightly in the case of a door off the price of a property. And so that's it. Those are the reasons why I think maybe you should consider moving in winter before everyone jumps into the market in spring, especially with the potential upcoming of lowering interest rates. So if you're looking to move this winter, I want to help you out in that next stage. Reach out to me, my contact details are below, and let's see if we can find a way to get you into your next place before everyone else wants to get into their next place.